welcome everyone. This is a great opportunity being part of Mental Health Awareness Week, and what we wanted to do was bring along a guest speaker to talk to you about mental health awareness in your groups and how you as a leader can help your group members and sort of signs to look out for, and also other places and information where you places that you can go to find out information as well. So I'm delighted to welcome Lloyd Ashley along this evening, and he's going to give us loads of great stuff to take away and hopefully be useful in your groups.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Thank you for the introduction, and very much looking forward to speaking about pushing more positive mental health in your running club. And there'll be a few different suggestions I brand around today. Some will suit your running club, some won't suit your running club, and hopefully I'll just give you some insight into the more on the mental health of probably our society, because we're going to have a range of different people at all our running clubs, and it's important that we do as much as we can to cater for everybody, just so they feel safe and they feel positive about coming to what is their running club. I know I say it as your running club as the leaders, but they are running club as well, and we want them to feel like it is their running club. So just a little bit of an introduction to myself. My name is Lloyd Ashley, like I said, professional rugby player for the Ospreys. Very fortunate to have been there for the last 10 years and captained the team on numerous occasions, so I'm very fortunate there. I'm also an ambassador for a mental health charity called Havel, and their young people's ambassador. I've been an ambassador there for the last about 2.5 years, and that's probably where a lot of my interest around mental health and where it started from. And I've just opened as well my own company around mental health and well-being and raising awareness for mental health. I'm a qualified first aid instructor for mental health, and my company is called Living Well with Lloyd Ashley. So if any of you are on Instagram, please feel free to follow Living Well with Lloyd Ashley on Instagram. Do quite a lot around sports and how we can introduce mental health, and a lot around how me and different athletes from around the world see mental health and the things that we could do to support each other. And that's the spiel around that. That's the spiel around that. So please feel free, anybody. And if there's ever any questions you want to fire across about things you're doing in your own clubs, or how you could get support, or where you can go, signposting anything, please feel free anytime to drop an email across on there, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I'm not 24/7, but I'm pretty busy on this, so I can get you pretty quick. So just to tell you, the aims of this session is to demonstrate the importance of speaking about mental health. I personally think it's so important, and if we can speak about it openly as a club, it makes people feel a lot safer. And before we started the recording, we were speaking about people being anxious to come to different events or different parts of the year. It might be from a body image point of view, it might be from a fitness point of view. There's so many different things, or there might be things going on in the background of people's lives and it's important that if we can create a safer space for people, hopefully they'll feel not only welcome to come and run, but welcome to come and speak and enjoy each other's company a lot more, which makes it a lot more enjoyable for everybody. And the objectives for this session is to understand ongoing support is always available, and identify how all members can support each other, because it's so important. If we can ask more open questions, if we can be there to support each other, a lot more people are going to feel supported coming to our running clubs, your running clubs and their running clubs. So, and that's so important. Just gonna go on to some statistics. I know most of them you've probably seen in the past, but I think it's so important that we just do remind ourselves them. So 1 in 4 people are affected by a mental health problem in any year. I do personally think that at some point all of us are going to be affected by a mental health problem. And by that I mean, a mental health problem isn't that you're mentally ill or you're going to be diagnosed with anxiety or depression. A lot of people obviously are, but not everybody's going to be that. But you might have a couple of weeks where your mood's low, where you haven't got much motivation, and that's your mental health problem. That's being affected by your mental health. So the more we can do about it, the more we can educate ourselves. Hopefully we can not only help the people around us, but help ourselves stay in the best frame of mind we possibly can, and that's really important to me. Another really important statistic to me is the fact that 75% of 75% of mental health problems develop before the age of 24. Probably a lot of running clubs have got youth sections or younger adults joining their running clubs. So it's really important to understand that, not only from a senior point of view, but from a young athlete's point of view, that a lot of problems do start from a young age. So the more support we can put in from a younger age, the better. And hopefully as well, from the point of view of we maintain and retain more of our athletes, or more of our runners, more of our social runners, whatever we want to call them at different times, that we keep the people in our club and they feel supported by our club. And the last statistic I just want to bring up, and it's obviously a hard statistic, and I'm sorry if anybody has been affected by suicide, but 75% of suicides are male. I don't know in each club what the statistics are around how many female athletes, how many male athletes you've got, but the fact that still over 5,000 people in 2019 lost their lives to suicide, I think is very important that we do speak about it. And like I said, for anybody who has been affected by suicide, I'm sorry to bring it up, but I think it's really important that it doesn't just go under the radar, because it is a tough topic to speak about. So there's the statistics that have got me into talking about mental health.
Yeah, it is such a huge gap, isn't it, for male suicide? And I mean, I know that my husband knows 2 people, that have died, and it's both male in their early 40s. And to know 2 people just in one small area, I think it's quite shocking, isn't it?
Yeah, so suicide is the biggest killer of men under 45. So yeah, sadly we are hugely affected. And I'm from South Wales. I know Sarah said that she's from the South Wales area, Pontypridd, or around that area. And the rugby clubs in South Wales have been hit so badly by suicide. There's numerous rugby clubs that have been hit and lost young men, and it's so important that we do start speaking about it. And it's not only people involved in sport, it's out to sport, but the more we can do to make safe spaces for whether it's our athletes, whether it's just our friends of the club, is the best we can do for them. And that's why, from a point of view as a professional rugby player, I think it's so important that we speak about it. And I've been, with it being Mental Health Awareness Week, I did an interview with ITV News last night, and like that was one of the things we spoke about, was suicides in men, and how we can create safe spaces for people, so hopefully that they feel comfortable just speak before it's a crisis, because we do have our mental health every day, when it's good and bad. So it's important that we do as much as we can to look after it day in, day out. So I do think that's really important. I do think that, like, from your husband's point of view, sadly he's not alone as well, knowing 2 people, and it's horrible. And like, I'm sure both affected him and affected many other people around. And that's the hardest thing, because a lot of people, when they get to that point, don't think that anybody really cares. And it's such a sad way of being, because there's so many people left behind who are there thinking, I wish I could have done more, I wish I could have done this. And it's probably not a lot more could have been done, but if we're more available, we have more access to each other by checking in with each other, I do think that'll have a huge difference. And that's why I think it's fantastic that you've got your running club set up so people can go and enjoy each other's company. So what can we do to support? This is probably the most important point for me, is the first one. Understanding your members is the main focus from my point of view. Your club will have a lot of different meanings to different members, and that's a positive thing, because they bring so many different things to your club. You'll have people there who want to have fun, people there who want to get out the house. I know I've got twin girls downstairs, and sometimes I would love a running club to go to, even post training, just to get out of the house. So there's lots of different reasons why we want a club, whether it's to get fitter, whether, like the pandemic now, I think at the start, Eva, you were saying that your uptake has been fantastic since post-pandemic. So a lot of people now are realizing the fact it's really positive for their well-being to be around people, to be in clubs, to be in different places. So there's so many different reasons why people would join your club, but it's really interesting, and really, I think, moving your club forward and getting in a better spot is understanding those focuses for different people, because we can do lots of different things for people, and I'll speak about a couple of those things a little bit further on. So for me, I've just listed a couple of them on the next point, why people would come. So social club, elite club, fitness goals, and positive well-being. I probably think now, if you look at your club, you know all sorts of members, and you're probably nodding your head to, oh, I know the ones who come for social reasons. I know the ones who come because they're really chasing it and they want to get fitter, they want to get faster, and they want to be putting PBs in and hopefully winning local events, then larger events. People who've just got their own fitness goals, it might be to lose a little bit of weight, or it might be to just get a little bit faster when they're running around. And the ones who maybe had new uptake or been there for a couple of years, and they're just there for positive well-being, whatever their story is behind coming to the club. It's important that we do understand that. And this is a big one for me, the next point. This is important, as different people have different ways they would want support from the club. It's a really interesting point of view. So if I look at from an elite level, from a professional point of view, that even in there's going to be people whose main focus is for different things. It might be for their family, it might be for a financial thing, it might be just they love playing rugby. We've got to be honest, there's lots of different things, and sometimes there's a few things that you think about when you go to do these things. So it's so important that we do understand that different people want different things from our club, and then it's trying to put into place, what can we do for these people? What different things can we get in place? So on the next slide, I've just got some suggestions for what we can actually do. So suggestions for support. I know lots of you, luckily, have got your clubs back up and running. Maybe not everybody's back at the moment, and a couple of clubs, probably about a month ago, we done a bit of a competition of favorite photo, just to create some positivity and hopefully reduce some anxiety with some members coming back. And what I like to do is, if we do these talks, I like to say to them, oh, will you send a couple of photos across? And I have some really funny photos. And sometimes it's just a way of just reminding everybody that even whether they're there for an elite reason or whether they're there for fitness goals or their own well-being, that it's actually really positive being around everybody. And some people's photos of them over the finish line on their backs because they can't breathe, and they're thinking, why did I push myself so hard? Other people, it's them doing a run in fancy dress and they've really enjoyed. So there's so many different things that people will, but all of a sudden you're putting these photos in the group and everybody's laughing. It might be on a Facebook page, it might be on a WhatsApp group, lots of different ways of communicating these competitions. But I know that created a lot less anxiety for certain people coming back. And I know we spoke about having beginners groups up and running at the moment. Maybe there's taking some photos now the first couple of weeks and reminding in another couple of weeks actually how far everybody's come and how they're doing. So I think that's really important from my point of view. And a couple of the rugby clubs have done it through lockdown about favorite photos from pre-lockdown, and then they've set their ambitions then for the next year on that. So it might be social things that people have enjoyed the most, or it might be winning big games, and then they set their targets out for the next year, whether it's from a participation point of view, as in how many people they get in training, or whether it's winning the league and going up to another league. So it's really important, and it's really encouraging how much a bit of fun on a WhatsApp group's Facebook page can actually share some enthusiasm about training as well. So the next point
That's
for
really,
me.
Sorry, I was just going to say that's a really great point, because even though we've had quite a few coming back to Run Club, I know that there are still little pockets of people that haven't returned, and I think they're quite nervous about coming back. So actually sort of doing something like that and reminding them about what they had been doing might sort of draw them back and encourage them to come back. And even if they came and had a chat with me before the group, you know, and didn't actually run or anything, but just to actually sort of be part of the social sort of aspect, I think that's a really great idea.
Yeah, we all know as well that if we haven't done something for ages, we remember the bad points of it. We remember the most worrying points of it. And that's like, I have 3 or 4 days where I go back to preseason every year oh my God, I'm not going to be able to do this. I can't do it. We all think of the worst. We all think of the worst parts of it, but then we sometimes forget the moments that we really enjoy, and the fact that that gets us through. We all know that we'll have some hard runs, and there will be some times we're like, why did I choose to come here tonight? But then there's other times that we're there and we're like, wow, I absolutely love being here. And that's so important to remind people of that. I'm sure, even thinking now, Leanne, that you've got some moments that you think to yourself now when you haven't think about these photos at times that you've just really enjoyed being around everybody.
Can't seem to unmute. Yeah, absolutely. I know. I think some of my favourite photos are just me red-faced and having a laugh. And there was one where I think it was just after having my second child. Well, it was about 6 months after. I'd got kind of built myself back up, and there was both of them after I'd finished. It was a 10k in Llangollen. It was quite tough actually, and they were both hugging me, and I just love that photo at the end. It's just really nice to bring back some really nice memories.
Yeah, and it's fantastic. And like, even from a father's point of view, so we haven't had fans of the stadium since I've had my twin girls, and I keep saying to my wife all the time, I can't wait to have the crowd back just so I can grab the girls off you at the end of the game and have them on the pitch, because it's not a moment for the girls, it's a moment for you as well. And it means a lot, and it's lovely, and I think it's fantastically, and that's the moment. And it will be family, it will be social reasons for some people, and other people it might be because they've got the time in the background. It's a PB, and that's so nice because we enjoy those moments with people. Like, I'm sat here now, Leanne, thinking, I haven't even seen the photo, but I'm thinking, yeah, what a lovely moment that is. And I was not even part of your running club. So somebody else, when they put a photo in of the PB, and we know what work goes into that, and you're going, what a lovely moment. Or you've got people in fancy dress. I know, Eva, you were saying earlier that you're doing something for charity, and you're raising money. So it might be the end of something that you've donated to a good cause, and that means so much to you. So there's so many different reasons why we'd have a favorite photo, and I do think sometimes it's just worth sharing those. It's just as a reminder, even if it's not from the point of view of, again, more people in the club. I do think it's a nice way of reminding everybody that we have done a lot of good things as well.
Yeah.
My next point is, for me, because I'm a podcast lover, but share podcasts around your athletes, and they could be speaking about stories in sport or out of sport. So I'll just take, for instance, because Leanne brought it up then about post pregnancy and getting back running. There was an interview and a podcast with Jessica Ennis-Hill, and she spoke about her body repairing and trying to get back. Obviously, she was trying to get back to Olympic standard, but fantastic listening to how what her body had to go through. And so I've probably sat from afar. My wife is a netball player. She used to be international. She's now does a lot of running. And I knew, after listening to that, I had a newfound respect for what females had to go through from a physical point of view post pregnancy, because obviously we see up till pregnancy, we see the babies come, and then think, oh, a couple of months, but it doesn't work like that. So that information is really, really important. And from a male point of view, that was a podcast that changed a lot of my way of thinking. So, but then there's also podcasts I listen to all the time about people's struggles. I love listening to professional rugby players talk about their life outside of rugby, because we see these professional players, we see them on the screen, and we think that that's what they are. They're rugby players. That's all they are. Then you forget to think what they've got actually going on outside. And it's also really, really important as well from setting goals point of view. So there might be podcasts on motivation and topics around that, and facing up to your motivation, speaking about motivation, and that might help athletes as well, because it changes their mindset and how they look at coming to running. So if you're thinking, somebody comes and says to you, oh, I want to increase my PB time, but I don't know how. But then sometimes I know I've listened to this brilliant podcast on mindset. Why don't you give this a listen? Or growth mindset. Why don't you give this a listen and see if that helps you at all? And I like to share a lot in my rugby groups, whether it's from groups I do some mental health work with, or whether it's groups I'm involved in playing wise. I like just to share around podcasts at times, just to go, boys, if any of you are interested in this is a good listen. So it might be on nutrition. It might be, like you said, the couch to 5K. So somebody might have come to your running club and said, oh, so and so wants to join, but they're not quite up to 5k yet, so they're going to come after that. And then here we are. Have you had the podcast with the Couch of 5k? Do you want to listen to it and what it's done for other people, how it's changed their lives? And it's just that motivation from there. I just think it's a good way, podcast, especially in the car, is a good way of getting people the information. There's also obviously brilliant YouTube videos, fantastic resource as well that if we ever want to use. I think YouTube at times we think it's just for funny videos and for music videos, but there's actually some fantastic information resources on there as well that I use quite a lot for different things. So maybe if you ever see something on there that you think would be good for some of your athletes, your personnel, maybe just put those in as well, which might help them as well. The next point for me is quite an interesting one from a running club point of view, because obviously I realize that a lot of you don't have an actual clubhouse. So it's a little bit different to rugby, but setting up a coffee club before or after training, some downtime just to give people a space to check in. Very important point to me, because especially we're talking about social clubs, or we're talking about people having things going on outside of the run club. I think it's really important. And I know we all had the conversation when we first got on about the park run in Portugal, people coming down making it a day out because they go for a coffee after. And I see like people like really wanting to be there, and it probably isn't for the run. It's probably because the fact that they know they're going to have some time after, they're going to get a chance to sit down, they're going to get a chance to catch up with each other, because we know dark, wet nights in Wales, we can't get away from those. I know there's dark, wet mornings on Porthcawl as well when they're doing the park runs, and there's still loads of people turning up. But I think a lot of the reason people do turn up at those times is because they enjoy being around each other. So what can we do? Can we speak to a local pub and say, right, we've got this run, could we come in the bar after and just have a coffee? Could you put on a coffee for us after thing? They probably charge 50 pence a coffee because they're happy for somebody to be in there middle of the week. Like they're going through the same different things. They want people talking about their place, and then hopefully then once or twice a year you put on a meal there, and you spend a couple of £100 as a running club because they've supported you through the year. So what can you think about in your local area that you could put a check in a safe space? And maybe sometimes it's saying, look, it's terrible weather tonight. I don't want to go out and run in it. Should we all go for a coffee? Should we all meet there instead? Go for a coffee. You're going to get people who say, oh, I can't really justify I've got children in the house and can't say, oh, I really want to train, so I'm going to go and train anyway. But there might be those people who think, do you know what? I'd love to go and check in, have a conversation rather than just train, get to know people a little bit better. And after the first couple sometimes are quite awkward, and we got to be honest about that. I set up coffee mornings on Zoom during lockdown or face to face, and I've had 2 people turn up. One of them being my dad, don't worry. So like these things do happen, but be persistent with it. And I don't mean, but you do it on a Tuesday and then all of a sudden you're going, right, we're doing it Thursday because none of you turned up. But maybe a month later you get the 2 people who turned up to say, like in the group, say, oh, so lovely to catch up, loved having a chat about things non-running for a change. And then all of a sudden somebody's going, I'm going to go to the next one. And then all of a sudden you've gone from 2 people, you've gone to 8 people, you've gone to 10 people. All of a sudden somebody's bringing their friend with them because they thought it was a fantastic idea, who hasn't run yet, but all of a sudden is going, oh, I love the vibe that you've got in this running club. I'm going to start trying to give it a go. How could I give it a go a little bit? Because I'm a bit nervous about running. Eva, you were saying earlier about some people who haven't quite come back to running, even though you'd like to get them involved. Maybe the coffee way is the way of getting them back, and just saying, look, we're going to do this every once in a while now.
Yeah, and I think it's great as a leader as well, because so I have a certain group of people that I stay with, and my other run leaders, they have a group of people that they stay with generally. And so we don't talk to all the other group members all the time. You know, we sort of have a couple of minutes when we're doing a warm up or a cool down, but we don't have that same connection. So actually, when we do meet at other times, it's like, right, oh, great opportunity to go and talk to somebody else and other people to sort of mix with each other.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. I also spoke to Row in Wales about this a couple of months ago, and we had the conversation, and we were talking to some of the athletes who were there at the time, and they were saying like post training as well. If we could have a coffee, then I know sometimes we're soaking and you won't want to go into a pub or whatever, but there's ways around it. I do feel that there's ways around it.
Yeah.
Thing, but they were saying that that's their time where they're like, I could let everything go at that point. If I spoke to somebody at that point, I could just go, because I've run, I've focused, I've given myself a bit of clarity, I've thought about what's going on. If somebody asked me at that point, what have you got going on? I'd just be able to go, whoosh. And then, so that safe space, and sometimes that really suits. And I'm also very conscious about the fact that you as run leaders are given a lot of time already to your club. So I'm not saying that there's always an hour, but maybe there's somebody else in the club who can go, right, I'll take this coffee afternoon, I'll take this. Or maybe it's the fact that you put the effort in for the first couple, and then all of a sudden somebody else is going, I've got this, like, this is really good, I enjoy doing this. And if you've already got a relationship with a place that you're going to use, it's quite easy to organize, and it might be very influential to how the region or the society around you see your running club as well. Because honestly, from just from a Porthcawl point of view, I've seen the Porthcawl Running Club start up, and the amount of people they've got there, and everybody's speaking about it. Everybody sees the running vest with the Porthcawl on it, and everyone's going, oh, have you seen how many people are doing it? Have you seen how many people are doing it now? And it's like, that's lovely to hear. From my point of view, it's awesome to see, and you do take notice well when people are doing that. Last point for me on this is, but obviously this is the same conversation about not having clubs, but this is why I really think it's important to use your groups, but just promoting ways to support each other. So whether it's signposting sheets, if anybody ever is struggling, whether it's like your 5 ways to well-being, like I say, your couch to 5K, so these people can share it, but they also know that you really care about them. You're not just turn up, run, gone home, done. Like, you really care about those as people. And if you ask any club in whatever sport, why did they love the club, whatever club they say the most, they'll say because they cared about me, and they wanted to know I was okay, and they wanted to create a fun space for me to enjoy. So I just think it's really important if we can do little things like that, whatever it is, signposting sheets, whether it is 5 ways to well-being, just little things like that in your group. Once in a while, I don't mean you need to bang it all the time and just say, look, this is Samaritan's number, this is this, whatever you've got going on, you need to tell me. But it's just checking in and just letting people know that you are there for them, and you do really care about them as well, which is really, really important point of view. And I do think people will feel a lot more supported if we do put these things in once in a while. So next point is, how could you help your members? We spoke about some of them already, but it's really important that we do just remind people of this as well. Be a positive support, look out for others. I know you'll know, like we spoke about, we'll know some of our participants in our group, but we won't know everybody. So just checking in with people, if people come into the group, just be a positive support, just tell everybody, like, introduce yourself, let them know that you're there if there's anything going on. Knowing the signs. I know we talk about depression, anxiety a lot of the time. We think if people don't turn up, that might be one of the signs. If you're one of your regular runners stops turning up, that's definitely a sign. It might also be a sign that somebody who's quite quiet normally in the group is all of a sudden really boisterous, and they're really full of it, because they almost don't want you to ask them, are they okay, because they don't want to admit to it. So it's just understanding personalities, and that's why I do think the coffee afternoons help, or coffee evenings, whatever they are, do help as well, because you understand people a little bit better, and you understand them not just from a running point of view, but from a social point of view, just so you can be there to support. And like, I know you as run leaders, you've got other leaders underneath you. Don't feel like the pressure's always on you. Delegate, and just understand that we can do these things. And there might be somebody in your group who knows the glue to your group. We all know those people who are there, they're a ball of energy all the time, and you know that if someone's got something going on, that's probably the person they go to. Don't be scared to say to that person, look, I think we need to be a more supportive club for everybody. I think they need to know that we're there for them.
Those 2 people are now my run leaders. And they have saved my bacon this week.
See, and that's brilliant, and that's fantastic to know that you've got those people, and that's so important. And like, teams are, like we always name a captain, teams are never built on just one person. We know that from whatever sport you're in, you know that. But it's important then just to have that conversation. How can we round up? How can we have a bit of a well-being group that we know, not, and it's not talking about people behind their back, it's supporting people and saying, do you know so and so's got this going on? Like, can we just make sure we put a little bit more effort in, a little bit more support? Or do you know so and so's probably not going to come now because they feel they've got a bit of anxiety about coming and things like that. So just putting those support networks in place is really important. And don't be scared to talk to them. If they've turned up, don't be scared. I don't mean in front of everybody. You're not going to say in front of your running group, oh, I heard you got this going on. What are you going to do about it or whatever? Just give people the time, whether it's just after the session, we're just saying, I haven't got 2 minutes of you, and then just saying to them, look, I know you got a lot going on. Just remember that, like, I'm here to support you. The club's here to support you, because we all know that arm around us at times is very much needed. And we look back at those times where somebody has done it for us and thought, I was really, really kind to them and really, really needed as well. So I really appreciate that. And then this is a big one, like I was saying, talk to friends, family, coaches. I mean, talk to the network you've got around you, speak to the people you've got in your running club. Like we said at Anivo, we've all got those glues in that club that are people who, you know, people trust, people will go to and use them. They're so important to us because we do get busy as well, like sitting on top of things, organizing different events. We do sometimes miss out the smaller details, which we wouldn't want to, but it's hard to stay on top of as well. So don't be scared to speak to those people. So the next one for me is starting the conversation. If we do ever see that there's something going on, please don't. It's no need to avoid it. It might be somebody else picking up the conversation, but pick a safe space to talk. Whether that's before a session, just maybe giving somebody a message, just saying, "Oh, do you want to pop up 10 minutes? Do you want to come? Do you mind coming 10 minutes early so we can have a catch up? Or do you fancy going for a coffee post run or whatever it is?" Just let somebody know that there's a safe space for them to come and speak. Let them know it's okay not to be okay. We're all going to have bad times. And sorry, I don't mean to say that with a smile on my face, but we've got to be honest about it as well. We are all going to have tough times, whether it's caused by work, family, relationship issues. There's so much going on in our lives that at times, I'm sorry to say that we will have times that not everything's not flowing right. And there's obviously a magnitude of these different things that could happen. But it's really important that we do speak about it. And it's really important that even those day-to-day things that we've got a space just to say, no, I'm just having a bad day. Like, and that's okay. We're all going to have them. My big point for run leaders is listening, giving somebody, if we are going to ask the questions, be there to listen as well, not just as somebody else is walking into the room, we go and speak to them after we've just asked somebody, are they okay? Like, really be there for them. Put your phone away. You don't need your phone for that, whatever time it is. Just be present in what you're doing and listen to what they've got going on. Encourage them to speak to others and get help. If a lot of the time it's not help they need, it's just somebody else to speak to, somebody they feel safe to. And that's why, if as a running club we can create a safe space so that they do feel, whether it's the coffee afternoons every couple of weeks, or whether it's at the end of runs, people are saying, oh, should we do a stretch together because we enjoy doing stuff together, whatever it is, that time is just encourage them to have a chat to each other, that it's not just we turn up, we run, we go home, because we know we push ourselves harder for the people we speak to. We have a lot more respect for people when we've had these conversations, and the more as leaders we can encourage people to start these safe spaces and be there for each other, the better it's going to be for everybody as well. And I promise you, from personal point of view, and you already know this, but it's more enjoyable for us as well when we've had those conversations and we know we've been there for somebody as well. Whatever's going on, that's really, really, really important. The next point for me is there's always support available. Eve, I'll ask you to send especially this slide out. Obviously the presentation can go out to the run leaders, more than happy anyway, but this slide is really important to me. The fact that there is always help there. Samaritans is 24/7. Like I said earlier, I'm an ambassador for Havel, which is a Welsh mental illness charity. Their support lines and their website is fantastic with loads of information. Young Minds for our younger athletes. There's so much information on there. There's a text service as well as a number, because we know not everybody's going to want to pick up the phone, but they might want some advice over a text service. And like I said about earlier, if we are ever worried about somebody contemplating taking their own life, emergency services are always there as well. But hopefully we don't have to use it, but they are always there so we can keep people as safe as possible. We're very lucky in the country we live in to have a 999 service that will be with us very quickly. So hopefully you never have to use it, but it is always there. So I will ask when this slide goes out, or when it comes out, that we do send this. This might be the first thing we put out about, well, I don't know, obviously don't know what you've already put in your groups. You might put stuff about mental health in the past, but I'm saying if we haven't, can we just have this signposting sheet sent out so everybody knows that it's really important to them. You're really important to them, they're really important to you, and you want them to know, because it might not be for any of your athletes, but they might feel more comfortable in another situation when they're in with their friends if they have got this information available as well. And that's really important for the wider community as well.
Yeah, and it is good information as well, because you might start having a chat with somebody and it's actually, a member of their family that they're concerned about and worried about, not necessarily them. So to be able to give them some information where they themselves can have a chat with somebody, not necessarily the person who is going through a difficult time. And there are additional support mechanisms out there. So I know there's a forces one as well, which but I mean, all of them, I would imagine, are so supportive and will give you what you need. But I know, especially with the forces one, that the stuff that they share, and it is so important.
Yeah, and there's so many fantastic charities out there, like you said, Eva. There's so much going on, and there's so much brilliant work going on, which is fantastic. And whether it's forces, whether there's things more specific to you, like there's young sporting minds, they've got a helpline as well. So there's so many different ones going on. I think it's so important that we do everybody just does understand that there is always a support network around them, and which is really, really important. And like a point you brought up then, it might be when you send this out, somebody might feel more comfortable because you brought up the topic of mental health. I know from signing up to be an ambassador for Havel that the conversations over the next 3 months post that just changed completely. Like, I had so many boys come up to me from rugby, from outside of rugby, going, "Man, love what you're doing. It's class, that is, because I've had this going on, or my family's had this going on, or my best friend had this." It's so inspiring how much the conversation changes, just because they feel there's a safe space to come and speak, and because you support it. And I said in an interview yesterday, I was like, but I was the same person yesterday, the day before that. I wanted to be there for them then. But all of a sudden, you've opened up a safe space to say, like, look, we want to support you. We want to be there for you. And all of a sudden, people are going, "Oh, I feel a lot more comfortable speaking about it now." And I'd say it with a smile on my face, because I've had some conversations I promise you I would never have had. And I leave there and think, I'm glad you felt safe enough to speak to me about that, because I was genuinely there for you as well. And I was, like I said, I was there yesterday as well before I mentioned this. So it might be somebody's in just to make them feel safe. And obviously with Mental Health Awareness Week being this week, if you do share anything, like, there's so much stuff out there at the moment. I don't mean to plug myself, but if you do ever want to use stuff, there's I did an interview with ITV Wales News yesterday. I know that's online. I know I've had a lot of texts a day from certain people saying, "Oh, I've sent this to my son. Is the first time being able to speak about mental health. It just bridged the gap a little bit, because I didn't really know how to bring it up." But with a rugby player speaking about it or whatever, and it might be from a running point of view, it might be like, I know, I remember listening to Mo Farah's post-Olympics, and it was like the down after the Olympics compared to how much he's built up to. And then I know from that point of view, young runners are going, "Oh, it's interesting that they have their highs and lows as well." From that point of view, so there's like I said, there's so much out there from internet things. But if you do ever want, or if there's ever any questions, like I said, the Living Well with Lloyd Ashley Instagram account is always open to fire messages across. I've always got resources try and change my resources as much as possible as well, because everything does change all the time. So that is always open to you. And the last slide is, if there's any questions from anybody, or if there's any points you want me to go over, or please feel free to fire anything across, because you've got me for as long as you want me.
Stop sharing, and then if anyone's got a question or anything, I just think on that
Eva,
last
are you
point,
happy? Sorry,
yeah,
if there's any questions you don't want recorded as well, please feel free just to say
yeah,
now as well,
please.
that we won't have them recorded, because everything else can be very, very confidential now.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, because I talk a lot, that actually your point of earlier about getting boys to open up and talk about things, and it's only, I know we're here because for our running groups and they're all adults, but actually, you know, the kids that I'm teaching now are going to be adults, and if there's anything sort of going on now, we need to be sort of sharing that it's okay to talk, that you don't have to bottle up these things that, you know, might not necessarily be me that you talk to, but there are other people that you can talk to, and recognizing that kids have got a lot going on, you know, and so if I can help them, then hopefully they'll as they get into the teenage years and their adulthood, that we can sort of be some support.
Yeah, and if we can educate, especially like young men, about the fact that we're going to feel emotions, it's fine to speak about them from a younger age, it's going to be a lot more positive for everybody. It's so important. And like, I run a schools program based on that, because the fact that, like, we all feel emotions, and I know at times this isn't everybody. Like, we talk about male suicides, there's still way too many female suicides. I don't and we talk about the 75% of men, but the female suicide rate's too high. What, like, why are we not speaking about that as well? We need to be putting support in place for as many people as possible. But if as young men we can understand the emotions and understand how to articulate them a little bit, because obviously testosterone's building, frustration builds with that, and we bottle it up. We were told big boys don't cry. There's so many sayings that go around the society like that, and we don't mean them as bad things. First of all, we want them, when they've had a couple of falls as young kids, we want them to be able to get back up and show some resilience, because we all need a bit of resilience. But where's that balance between we don't bottle up our emotions and we're able to actually speak about them? And that's so important. And if we show them at a young age that they got support, where they're allowed to say when things aren't going well, or come away from a competition and say to themselves, like, I weren't good enough, I'm frustrated with that, but I'm going to put it into a more positive context, or the fact that I'm not performing well in my running club because there's things going on in the house that are hard to deal with, then we're in a lot better place. And hopefully they feel supported a lot earlier, because it is hard to put that support in place. And let's be honest, we've all avoided the question of time. We've seen somebody down and we've got a bit going on ourselves. We've all gone past somebody and thought, probably should have asked how they're doing, or give them a bit more time. But we've got a lot going on as well, and that's why it's so important as a running club that you have a bit of a group around you and you don't take it all on yourself. Because I never want it to be the fact that as a running leader you think you need to take on everybody else's problems, because that's not what we're saying. What we're saying is that if we can put a support network in place and let people know that we are there if they want to come and speak, but also the fact that if things are going on and they're quite serious, we go to a GP, we go to a signposting service, or we use Samaritans, and that support network if somebody doesn't want to go to their local GP as well.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So if there's no questions, what I'll do is I'll say thank you very much. That was an absolutely fantastic presentation. I've taken away loads of stuff which I'm going to do, and I think it, you know, sort of now we're sort of coming out a bit more out of lockdown, that social side will be easier for us to do.
Yeah, it will be a lot easier.
Yeah.
It will be a lot easier.